The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and think
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Outside Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim-building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYSim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.
Last season, the Virtual Sim Racing Association saw Wyatt Gooden win 7 out of 8 races in the DIYSim.com Z4 Challenge. With the Season 10 champion unable to return to defend his crown, the championship is up for grabs. Who will be able to tame the beastly Riley DP? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the DIYSim.com American Road Tour live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello and welcome to Homestead-Miami, home to Round 1 for Season 11. I'm Joe Peak. Joining me in the booth today are Bill Zahn and Ayrton Ellis. Our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Kevin Brown. Ayrton, Homestead is probably more familiar to our oval fans in its circle track layout. Tell us a little bit about what the infield road course brings to the table.
Thanks, Joe. Well, the infield course is about 2.3 miles long, also 3.7 kilometers, and it has a lot of twisty corners, 11 turns, including 3/4 of the oval section of the track. It has quite a few hairpins and tricky, fast corners as well. And we're going to be running a 45-minute race here today, so pretty short sprint race for these guys. They're going to have one pit stop as well, so quite a challenge.
Yes, and the pits will be a talking point that we'll discuss later. You mentioned that Wyatt Gooden was last season's champion. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about how that wound up in Season 10?
I think Kevin, our director, can put up a graphic for us there. Wyatt Gooden won the championship, 491 points. I got good news and bad news for you guys. The bad news is you will not be seeing Wyatt Gooden, one of the supreme sim racers around on the iRacing service. He was dominant. The good news is we might see more than one winner this season, as is going to be interesting to see how this new car plays out with these new drivers. So it should be a closer race for the championship. Now, Leonardo Schmidt was second, Alex Bilal was third. Kyle Potts made a run there at the end, got up to fourth place, and Potty is back this year, and he says he's going to do very well, so we'll keep an eye on him. And Craig McKenzie had a nice, steady season last year. He didn't get any top fives. He just steady all the way and landed a nice top 5 in the standings. So I'm really looking forward to this new season. We're going 9 races this time with 1 dropped race, so that's going to be something we can talk about too, Joe.
Absolutely, and guys will be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief on their other real-world obligations that they need to worry about for that. However, as we watch qualifying continue here, they're all out on the track, each on their own doing solo qualifying. We are going to watch a lap guide, what it's like on board around here with Kevin Brown. All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC DP, so let's do a lap around Homestead. Turn 1, flat out blast. Keep it tight and then get hard on the brakes for 2. If you overshoot this corner, you'll be sliding for a long ways. After that, there's not much time before you hit turn 3. This is the slowest and most technical portion of the track. It's going to be single file through here with no chances to pass unless you're in traffic. After 4, really spool up the car for the exit and get yourself a nice launch because you might have a chance to pass into 6. Even though turn 2 has more speed coming in, this is the more straightforward opportunity, and if your opponent defends, you can catch him out with the over-under. Straighten out 7 as you get on the power, and now it's another long stretch until 8. If you didn't get it done before, this sharp hairpin will give you a great place to try again. But the smarter move might actually be to wait. Since we get dumped back onto the oval right after this, the exit is oh so critical. And that won't be easy in the lower gears. The rears squirm even for Kevin. But as you can see coming up, with the banking through NASCAR 3 and 4, you're not lifting off the throttle until we hit the brakes for 2 again. So you're going to see guys wait for the draft and try to slip by before they have to attempt a 2-wide situation through 1. If that happens, God help the poor soul on the outside that he isn't bumped into the grass, or that the car inside isn't turned across the other guy's bow. Regardless, we finished a lap around Homestead. As we watch Alex Blau have a big moment coming out of what looks like turn 6 there, and actually off track and into the wall. That's going to hurt his qualifying. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get another good lap in. We switched to Daniel Santos, who's currently sitting on provisional pole. These guys are fighting for something out there. There are prizes to be given out after each race and for the championship. In each race, there are going to be 3 lucky dogs, so that is a random drawing each race. If you participated in the previous race, you are up for grabs on that one, and those guys all get $5 each. There's also the Clean and Mean Award. That is for the driver who has the fewest incidents, who finishes highest up in case of a tiebreaker. And then, of course, there is the Hard Charger Award. And as that implies, it's the guy who comes up and gains the highest number of positions from his qualifying position. Both the Hard Charger and the Clean and Mean get $2. However, for the championship, there is $62.50, interestingly specific number, for the champion to win. Second place gets $42.50. Third place gets $37.50. $25 for fourth, $20 for fifth, $17.50 for sixth, $15 for seventh, $12.50 for eighth, $10 for ninth, and then $7.50 for the guy who finishes 10th in the championship. A lot of money going all the way down the line, and that, of course, is all provided by our wonderful sponsor, DIYSim.com. So, as we watch qualifying go out, we've got a bit of a mix-up here, Ayrton. It seems like some guys are liking this car a little bit more than the Z4, and some aren't.
Yeah, we have quite a few new names up at the top. At the end of practice, there was a guy named Ricardo Inacio, and just looking also back at the previous season, there's Kyle Potts and Alex Blau who are in the top 5 in the championship, and in practice they're sitting in 7th and 9th place. So definitely some of these guys prefer this car over the Z4, and that should come pretty interesting when it comes to this season.
And I'm checking to make sure everybody has got their laps in. Interestingly, Brian Shanahan is on his first lap, and he's only got about a minute and a half to go. Not sure what he's doing that for. There's really not much of an advantage on waiting for that one. But most people should have their lap in by now, so we are going to go through the provisional results, although I'm being informed we might actually have 6 minutes left on qualifying. So apparently, excuse me, I apologize. We have 15 minutes of qualifying. I was thinking 10 minutes, so my mistake on that one. We do have a little bit more time for guys to shake things out. So we're going to make sure everybody gets their lap in before we start going through that and make sure things solidify. Few of the interesting stories to worry about. Bill, this car, as we said, suits different people differently, and that's because it's a bit of a handful, especially we understand on cold tires.
Yeah, I tried it out today. When I first stepped in last season for this series, we did the Z4, and that when you first got in, that felt like a comfortable pair of old tennis shoes that you've known. Man, I got into this car today, and it didn't feel like Adidas. It felt like high-heeled women's pumps, and I was uncomfortable, and I didn't want anyone to see me in them, and that's how I felt in the car as well. But after a while, I got to admit, I got the hang of it. I started to feel like Tina Turner out there in my heels. So I think that this car is going to put on a good show for these guys. And I got to say that it looks like the Brazilians really like it, because if I'm looking at the qualifying right now, I see nothing but, I think, the top 7, it looks like Brazilian drivers, Joe.
I'm not going to ask what sort of beauty pageants you were getting into with those shoes there, but
It's a metaphor, man. It's an analogy.
Yeah, it's look, gosh, we've got Daniel Santos up there, Anderson Moda, Alex Palau, Ricardo Inacio. We did hear the return of a former champion in the series was going to be coming back, but he's not here today. That's Rubens Velasco. We're not sure why he hasn't shown today, if maybe he's going to make a late appearance, but we did hear that he is going to bring some of his Brazilian friends along. And boy, we saw last season the Brazilians are not to be messed with. They are some of the fiercest competitors out there on the track, as we've seen with guys like Senna and Rubens Barrichello and Felipe Massa. Obviously, very talented country when it comes to racing, and same goes with sim racing. Just a lot of incredible speed that comes from that for some reason. Some of the other things to worry about, Ayrton, we were talking about turn one. Just about any car, it's really hairy through there, trying to go too wide with somebody.
Yeah, even single file, it's a challenge. If you could catch that grass on the outside of turn one and enter turn two, it will just send your car way off, and you'll lose a ton of time. We've heard that there's a lot of draft on the track, so guides might be going too wide into turn one, which I'm interested to see how that will work out, because it's a fairly narrow corner and there's kind of only one line, so there might be a little bit of giving and taking, but some people might not want to give up any positions.
And speaking of giving up positions, another interesting point about this track is the pit entry. Now, I'm not sure if we can find someone getting close to turn NASCAR 3 here. I'm looking at Brian Shanahan actually right now, and he's going to be approaching it soon. The entry to the pits is in NASCAR 3, just before you head onto the banking there. And you'll see it's just down to his left. He's going to continue onto his lap, I expect, here. But we should be able to possibly get a glimpse. There you can see it, yeah. So, guys who want to go into the pits have to go through there. And now you'll watch, there's another pit entry, but they are not allowed to take that. You might see it just there, the bottom of your screen. And that is going to give you a black flag if you head in through there. So the real big point about that, though, Bill, is that with it being flat, there's no pit lane speed limit on that flat portion as you come through NASCAR 3 and 4 if you're going through the pit entry. So some guys will be able to make up time.
Yeah, what viewers need to realize is that there's a pit limit speed, but that's only at the beginning of the pit lane. So these guys are actually racing, and if they make a mistake, I was talking with Ayrton earlier in the pre-race. If they get that right tire off into the grass, they can loop it, and who knows, they could go back, maybe do another lap. There's a lot of time to be made up, not in pit lane, but getting into pit lane. And with the competition as close as it is, that's a race that can be won right there in that little quarter-mile section.
So we could see potentially some big variation in the pit times, depending on that. We are getting information as we watch Romer Alcala finish his qualifying laps. Ruben Velasco, we understand, is on vacation today, so this could potentially be his one and only drop round. That's going to put him under pressure for the rest of this thing. So as Romer goes and does his laps, we've got about a minute and a half to go now for sure this time. Now that I remember how long the qualifying is. Let's go through and we'll update once we figure out where Romer is going to end up. Daniel Santos is on provisional pole. On the front row with him is Anderson Moda. Alex Palau starts in third, then Ricardo Inacio in fourth. Wendell Pera in fifth. Jose Vergara in sixth. Guillermo Leite in seventh. Kyle Potts in eighth. Scott Power in ninth. And Matthew the Thrill Phil starts in 10th there.
In 11th, we have Jonathan Scarallo. In 12th, Eduardo Tomidi. John Kelly is in 13th. Then Matt Malone in 14th. Clint Myers in 15th. Mark Robertson in 16th. Bruno Rossetto in 17th. Bruce Poole in 18th. And then Marcio Arizona in 19th. And Lance Snyder in 20th.
In 21st is one of the veterans from last season, George Fike. Behind him is Lee McGovern. Brian Shanahan in 23rd. John LaBeouf follows him. Joseph Anderson in 25th. In 26th is Justin Allen. 27th is Romer Alcala. Patrick Nguyen is in 28th. Donnie Leonard is in 29th. In 30th is Christopher Thompson. And rounding out the field is Michael Borowski. Now, a name that isn't on there that you guys who may have watched last season is Leandro Schmidt is also not here. He's second place in points last season from Brazil. And we hope you all tune back in next race and see if Leandro comes back in and see if he can have a good finish. Okay, back to you, Joe.
Yeah, another person that I don't see here today is Kevin Vaughn. He was a top contender. So, of the top guys that we had last season, Bilal seems to be one who is looking good to try and improve his position. However, he's sitting third right now. So, I have to ask you guys, clean slate, new car, who's your pick, Ayrton?
I think I might go with Ricardo Inacio. He was fastest in practice. He only managed to get fourth in qualifying, but he seems like a pretty fast driver. So I'm gonna go for him.
Well, I'm gonna go down and take Potty here in eighth spot. We'll see how he does. And you know, Joe, I'm looking out there. There's a lot of similar colored cars, so we're gonna have our work cut out for. I look at a lot of white and blue cars out there.
Yeah, I'm wondering, not sure if it's teammates or not. They do have an official paint here for DIYSim.com, being the official sponsor of the American Road Tour. And it looks like we do have one more car that is on the grid that did not get a qualifying time in, and that is Hiro Kanaya. He is sitting last in 30 seconds. So 32 cars on the grid. Nice, huge field today, guys. Question is, can they repeat last season when we saw some really good, really clean starts from everybody? Because it's a completely different car.
You watch Hiro Kanaya. He's got a top 20 in him this race. He's starting last. He is consistent. You watch him work his way past crashed cars right up into a top 20.
It sounded like our director doesn't have the utmost in faith in your prediction there, but we'll see how that plays out. As you can see, the pace car is in front of them, so they are going to do a pace lap, and it's going to be a rolling start here in this series. And in these cars, I'm thinking that they are going to want to do everything they can to get those tires heated up during this pace lap.
And we were actually talking about a little bit before one of the drivers, Scott Power, before the race. We asked him if he was planning on taking tires during the pit stop during this race, and he thinks that some guys will and some guys won't. And you might be able to gain a bit of time if you don't, but obviously that will affect these drivers on the track.
Well, the pit window for these cars for this race is it's kind of like you're getting in your car and you're going to work and your spouse forgot to fill it up. You can get gas at the station around the corner. You can get gas closer to work. So you can actually, there really is no pit window. Anytime you want to come in, you can fill up the tank and go the distance. So that might be the way they do the pit cycle, and when they take their pit stop may determine whether tires are an effective option.
Just a reminder as we wait for the green flag to fall that you can contact us on social media during the race. On Twitter, you can catch us at GSR Channel, and we will answer questions if you have any. Give us your comments, thoughts. Let us know what you think of what's unfolding. We'll try to keep track of it. These are a little bit more hectic races than some of our endurance races, so we might not catch it, but we'll do our best. So, as they now head towards one of the more popular passing zones here, and that is into turn 8. We are going to see them come onto the oval, then it's 2 more corners, and away they go for round 1 of season 11 in the American Road Tour for the Virtual Sim Racing Association. Going to be interesting without our previous champion, without our dominant champion, to see who is going to be able to step up to the front. At this point, it is a huge crapshoot. Some of the names that were up front last season don't seem to be up front this season. We've got a whole bunch of new faces, or at least faces that we haven't seen here at GSRC in the one season that we've broadcast. So it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be able to step up and grab the crown with both hands. We're hearing some drivers tell each other good luck. They're putting just a bit of a gap between themselves and the pace car. Everybody getting nice rows of 2x2 as they head around NASCAR's 3 and 4. Like we said, a lot of draft in this portion of the circuit, flat out all the way from turn 8 to the front stretch into the braking zone of 2. So these guys are going to be on the gas for a long, long time. Daniel Santos leading them to the green flag as the pace car now peels off, waiting for it to go, and he absolutely sprints away. Green flag falls. Anderson Moda has no answer for him. Just behind him, it's Alex Bilal. They're trying to slot one by one up at the front. What's the case a little bit farther back? There's still guys going 2x2. They're not quite up to speed, so they can get away for it. Come coming up into the braking zone of 2. It's looking very clean so far, guys.
Yeah, Kyle Potts actually just skimmed the grass going into turn 2, and he went off. He's going to probably drop down to last place now.
This is something it seems like we see every single race. Somebody loses a ton of positions right at the start and has to run his way back. In fact, he is second to last because he's got Hiro Kanaya behind him and nobody else. Meanwhile, up at the front, Daniel Santos still leading the way, followed by Anderson Moda, Alex Palau in third, Ricardo Inacio in fourth, and Wendell Parra in fifth as they started. Now heading on to the oval, we're going to see how this draft is going to play out with these guys. Moda is very close behind Santos. He got a good pull coming out of that very slow first gear corner. The draft is now reeling him in. They're coming into the banking. It is progressive banking, so you could go up high, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to be able to keep him around. Instead, it looks like he holds off. He does not close in on the back. However, the car behind him, Alex Palau, does come up behind him, and we've got a trail of 1, 2, 3 for the top guys. And now joining them in the braking, really closing up, Ricardo Inacio in fourth, and you can see we've got 4 cars in the lead.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on Potts as he makes his way back up through the field. He's gotten around a couple of cars already.
Well, there seems to be a big crash in turn 2. Marcio Arizon and also a couple other drivers. That's also Bruce Poole. They had collision into turn 1. Actually, not collision. They just spun and really had a checkup for the rest of the field.
Now we are checking out the replay of that, and we're looking at Marcio Arizon. And it looks like as they come down up into turn 1, and there was a lot of cars from what I'm seeing. If I'm checking my own personal replay here, yeah, you'll see it now. Under braking, he just gets a little bit loose, gets sideways coming out of it. Poole has nowhere to go, and then everyone behind them has to absolutely scatter. You have to give credit to everybody there, Aaron, because there was very few casualties in what could have been a very bad incident.
Yeah, quite a few guys went off track, but I don't actually think there's any contact. So a lot of guys managed to save their cars and not get into any incident points early on.
Exactly, and that brings us to the point that there is an incident point limit, and I believe it is bumped up to 20. Am I mistaken on that, Bill?
I think it's 24 is what I heard. It's up considerably because they didn't want to have quite as... We had a race last season in Spa where we lost a handful of drivers. Mainly, I think they were Brazilians that may not have realized that there was an incident cap. But they bumped it up. I don't think it's going to be an issue here with this car.
Most likely not, unless guys get really greedy, especially with a 45-minute race out here. And currently it is nose to tail with just a train of cars up at the front. Hard for them to spread out yet, especially with the draft. So it's very close, but nobody's really making any moves. So it seems like everybody's kind of playing the waiting game right now, Bill.
You know, I have to announce that these guys were incredibly clean last season. I know we have new cars. We have quite a few new drivers. But honestly, even that spin that we had where it was tandem spin, everybody did a good job of avoiding contact, and they're all back out on the road right now.
And I am looking at Guillermo Lete. He is trying to get around Matthew Thill, excuse me, as they come around NASCAR 3 and 4. They were side by side. Thill now going defensive on the front stretch. Are they going to go 2 by 2 through this first corner? No, it looks like Guillermo backs out of it, probably wise early in the race, and he is going to slot back down into 8th position.
And I think Ricardo Inacio just went a little wide in 2 and went off on the grass, brought it back in. Just a couple spots.
I'm thinking that is just going to be the absolute touch point of today. People are going to be making a mistake, Eric. Turn 2, it's very easy to overshoot that one.
Yeah, definitely very easy, and there's a huge amount of runoff space as well. So you won't get contact, but it takes a while to get back on the track. So these guys, they have to be careful about that, and they'll lose a lot of positions. As we saw at Ricardo Inacio, he lost a position to his teammate Jose Reguera. So that was just one position, so he got fairly lucky and still in the front pack.
And you know, Aaron, that's a good point, because so often on Rovals, turn 1 is like a mistake. Do not make a mistake there because you're in the wall. Usually as you turn into the infield, they always put a wall there. You think of Charlotte or other Rovals where there's just no room for error. Here it's a little different. And actually the turn-in is actually turn 2. So even if you end up making a mistake there, it's not going to cost you a race.
Interestingly, we've got Romer Alcala in the pits right now, and I'm not entirely sure why. But It sounds like he has got a little bit of damage on the front. I was trying to go back and see what exactly caused that, but could not find what happened. He must have run into the back of someone potentially, because I did not see him make contact with the wall. So, top 5 at the moment, not a lot has changed. Santos in the lead, followed by Moda, Balau in 3rd, Vigata in 4th, and Ignacio in 5th.
Jose Riguera and Alex Blau actually had contact, and I think it was turn 5. Blau actually went wide on the exit of turn 2, and Riguera tried to make a pass, and they had quite a bit of contact. Riguera just went off again, so I'm wondering if he might have a little bit of damage.
Not sure, but right now we are watching Matt Malone, and he is having a nice little scrap with the cars around him. He is currently sitting in 13th position, and he has got Jonathan Scarallo around him, as well as Bruno Rossetto, and Clint Myers is behind him, also followed by Mark Robertson as they come onto the backstretch. Now we are on board with Malone, and you can get a sense of the speed as they come through the oval portion of this course.
And I was watching Kyle Potts. You can stay where you are there. Kyle Potts is just slicing up these back markers as he's made his way up to 16th position now.
So it seems like Potts is on a charge after that early mistake. Still on board with Matt Malone as he tries to close up on the car in front of him. That is Bruno Rossetto currently in front of him. Whoa! It almost runs into him and actually spins coming into turn 3. Gets it going without hitting anything. Miraculously had a very close moment with a car coming by, you could see, but everybody managed to avoid him, but that lost him a couple positions.
And Matt Malone just looped it. So, Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear who just said. Well, let me follow up then on Matt Malone. Thank you, Kevin, our director, for saying that's what he was talking about. We've seen a lot of incidents that we didn't see in the BMW last season. These guys don't feel real comfortable in these cars yet.
Yeah, and we're only on lap 6, so it's still early on. Lone currently actually under threat there with a bunch of cars, including another early spinner. Kyle Potts is already closing up on the back of these guys, so this could be some action with one of them having recently made a mistake, and now Potts trying to make up for his mistake. Probably has the red mist down, Ayrton, and he's already making a move on the inside.
Yeah, I think he just let that position go. He knows that Kyle Potts was one of the faster drivers in the top 10, so he doesn't want to get into any trouble going into turn 1, because I imagine Kyle Potts is a little pissed after that spin in the early parts of the race.
He is right now chasing down Jonathan Scarallo as everybody breaks and concertinas together into turn 2. Now heading into 3. There's not much passing to be done here in this twistiest part of this circuit. Let's see if he can get a run coming off of turn 4, and it doesn't look like he's got anything, but he does have Malone still behind him, and Malone's not close enough to make any threat though. So it's all going to be line astern as they break for 6, and now stretching their legs out, coming to the next hairpin.
These drivers are already...
Oh, and we got a spin. That's Jonathan Scarallo, actually, who has turned it around, nosed it into the barrier, and he has exited into the pits. We're going to look at a replay of that. And that was coming out of turn 7 there. Just got a little loose, and boom, around he went into those powder blue walls.
Scarallo, actually, he also spun the lap before as well, so he might have been just having a bit of trouble on those tires.
Sorry, we got a huge battle going on. Unfortunately, Owen, we've got some technical problems, but that looked like our leaders there for a moment. I'm trying to figure out who exactly we were looking at. That is Jose Fagata and Wendell Pera. No, I'm sorry. Fagata. Yes, Jose Fagata and Wendell Pera, actually. A lot of similarly painted cars out here, unfortunately, makes it difficult to tell them apart. And those guys were having an almighty scrap. That was for 5th and 6th position.
Yeah, it looks like, Joe, we have 2 teams of drivers there. We have the front 3 drivers, and I'm going to colorblind again, but it looks like they're white and black cars. And then behind them are the 3 drivers in white and blue cars. So you got 6 drivers, 2 teams up front.
Certainly seems to be the case, but there is definitely a bit of a stretch out happening in front of the field. Santos has a bit of a lead over Moda, but behind them it's a long ways back to get to Alex Balau in 3rd. So it's currently our top 2 really battling it out, and then behind them everybody trying to grab the scraps I'm trying to see if I can find ourselves a battle as we watch Anderson Moda work his way up towards turn 3. Everybody's starting to space out. It looks like Clint Myers has a charging Mark Robertson coming down his inside as they head towards turn 1. They're going to try and go too wide, but no, Robertson decides to back out.
And right behind them, it won't be long until Kyle Potts gets up to them. Now, Myers and Robertson's are 12th and 13th, and Potts is now in 14th.
So, whoa, and huge moment for Potts. I'm not sure if we caught that. No, we were on Carl Myers, excuse me. Potts almost lost it coming into 3. He's still got Malone behind him, kind of riding his coattails to get back up through the field. Potts is in 14th. Remember, he slipped down to 31st after his spin on, I believe it was lap 2, was it, or was it lap 1?
Well, I don't want to correct you. I think it was only 30th because he was once ahead of Hiro Kanaya.
I believe we have 32 drivers, so I would think it would be
like
31st.
I said, I should know better. I've done enough of these races.
Well, anyways.
Don't correct Joe Peak.
Well, regardless, up to 14th, that's impressive. That's halfway through the field, and Potts qualified in 8th, so he's not back where he started quite yet, but that's a lot of cars to have to slice his way through, as you put it. Meanwhile, up above him, got a pass going between Romer Alcala and Scott Power. However, Romer is a lap down after having that damage repaired there. See a car coming out. That is George Fike. Now, I'm not sure if that was a routine pit stop or if he had some sort of damage.
Could be routine. You know, if we'll take a quick look at Matthew Thill, he's probably the first guy who's going to attempt to make a dent into that top 6 Brazilian stronghold there. He's right behind those guys. It's a nice battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th.
Absolutely. He is on the inside of Guillermo Leite, and they're going to go side by side through 7. Can't really do that as Leite actually goes off course, and it looks like Thill was slowed down. And who is that on the inside of him? That is Tomede, actually. Tomede, who tried to gain a position, and I think he almost got it. That's Alex Balau, our 3rd place runner, has spun coming out of 8. Once again, these slow corners, Ayrton, are really catching a lot of guys out.
Yeah, he's really struggling, and so he's going to have quite a lot of work to catch back up. I think he dropped to about 10th place position. But just a note on Matthew Thill, he started in 10th place, and he was battling the guys in 5th. So he's had a really good run so far in the first half of this race.
He's certainly taken advantage of some consistency out there as well. Almost had Eduardo Tomede go off and actually loses the position because of his 2 wheels off. Lede takes it back after his earlier off coming through turn 7 on the previous lap. So he's regained that spot and is going to try and run down Phil now once again.
And meanwhile, Moto has closed the distance for 2nd. He's within striking distance of Santos. He's not there yet, but Santos is not running away with us. In fact, Moda is right there now.
Oh, he took a peek coming up towards turn 8, but was not able to do anything with it at the moment. The draft is going to reel him in once again. I wonder if we're going to see a little bit more fierce fighting once it gets towards the end of the race. We're only 31, we have 31 minutes left, in this race, so we're only a third of the way into it at this point. Should be seeing a few more pit stops soon, though, although we saw in the past, most of these top guys like to stretch it a little bit later, Eric.
Yeah, and I imagine that some of these teammates will try to go similar pit strategies and stick together because as long as they have the draft, I mean, as we've seen with Santos and Moda, they've been able to gain about 4.5 second gap to Inacio in 3rd. So just them using the draft to their advantage and not passing each other, they've been able to get a huge gap.
Meanwhile, Alex Balau is really challenging Scott Power, and he actually gets tipped. He is around. Who is that? That's Bruno Rosetta, who tipped him around, stuck his nose in when he was battling, and caught him unawares. Unfortunate situation there.
And Guillermo Lete, there's really our first top driver who's come into the pits. He was running in 8th place, so that's something now we can keep an eye on and see how he fares. He's just leaving the pits right now.
We're watching that replay of that incident. You can see they were side by side for a number of corners there, looking around the outside of Power, and then didn't expect a car to try and come up his inside. And poor Balau, for the 2nd time in a few recent laps, is once again in the barriers. So, as the race continues on, I'm just checking Twitter real quick to see if we've gotten any mentions. Once again, you can contact us at GSR Channel on Twitter. We'll try and answer your questions if you have any. our current top 5 is still Daniel Santos with Anderson Moda in second. However, Ricardo Inacio has moved up into third. Then Jose Vergara is in fourth, and Wendell Pera is in fifth. And we're watching a battle between Mark Robertson and I'm not sure who that is with him. Alex Bilal, actually. So Bilal moving one more spot up. I guess his damage wasn't too bad in him trying to work his way back up after 2 unfortunate mistakes. One of them, I have to say, possibly not his fault, though.
And just to note about Guillermo Lete, for being the first one to hit, he also did not take any tires. So he's decided to go with that. We heard some of the other guys talking about taking tires, so I'm interested to see how that will affect their times and probably their speed on the track as well.
Yeah, he's 56 seconds now behind the leaders. I think he was probably about 10 seconds behind them when he went into the pits. So it looks like a bogey time, maybe about 46 seconds.
And the question in that is, too, as well, what kind of, is there any time to be gained by not taking those tires? Because if the amount of fuel that you need is more than it takes to change those tires, these guys could be, losing out by just not simply getting free tires at the end there. But then, we also mentioned cold tires, very difficult to drive. So it all depends possibly on what these guys feel like on how the car drives in certain conditions.
And also, the leaders are coming up on traffic now, so that's another possibility, although it's pretty easy to get around here, and I think the leaders won't be held up too much by back markers. But if you are held up, another thing to think about is maybe Moda might want to think about coming in early, and maybe he can pass him in pit lane because he's not getting around him on the track.
Exactly. Get the leapfrog in. At this point, he's got nothing else to lose here. But we don't know if those guys are teammates or not at this point, with this being a new season, just getting used to some of these new drivers out there with similar paint schemes. So these guys could be simply working together. We just don't know. Currently watching John LaBaff, who is being run down by Justin Allen. That is for 17th and 18th. And actually, we're watching Anderson Moda at the moment. I'm not sure if we could switch here. There we go. We're now watching John LaBaff as he heads around turn 7 onto the straightaway that leads to the passing zone of turn 8. Nothing doing at the moment for Allen, but these guys had started quite farther down, actually. Allen started in 26, so he has moved up a number of positions. LaBaff, on the other hand, started in 24th, so he's actually slipped down one. He is going quite low on the line, obviously wants to defend that inside line to keep himself on the defensive mode here. Let's see if Allen can pull him in with the draft. He's closing up as they cross the start-finish line, but I don't think it's going to be enough as he backs out under braking up towards turn 2. Oh, and a huge battle for going for Patrick Nguyen in 20th and 19th. Who is he battling with there? Going side by side actually through turn 1. That's impressive stuff between these guys. And that is John Kelly, no, that was Patrick Nguyen and Guillermo Lete that they were battling with there.
And meanwhile, Kyle Potts made his way through a log jam of cars back in about 12th position. He's up to, I think, going to be about 11th now, or 12th position still. Quite a mess back there with Robertson and Myers and Malone.
And we've got another battle going on with Brian Shanahan here. Trying to find this one on track. That is for 26th position, it looks like. And 25th and 26th position. He has been passed by Bruno Rossetto, and just ahead of them, they've got Bruce Poole. So it's not over yet for these guys since they're coming on to the draft portion of the track, Ayrton, and it looks like he might get another opportunity to take 2 positions in a lap.
Yeah, who are we looking at again?
Well, we were... And Nguyen goes to the inside down the front stretch. Going to go too wide once again. Through this first corner, just escape touching each other. But Nguyen backs out of it. That's going to make him susceptible to John Kelly. But just ahead of him, a spin. That was Guillermo Lete, who turned his car around 360, gets it going out of turn 2, and he's going to lose a couple more positions as Bruce Poole, the guys that we were watching earlier, and Bruno Rossetto come upon him. But he slots in between those two.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened when what I was talking about before the race. He just skimmed the grass on the braking zone and just lost the rear end going into turn 2. So really unfortunate for Guillermo Milete. He really had to gain a lot of time there since he was one of the early pit stoppers.
Let's go ahead and get the cameras on Matthew Thill.
Whoa, I'm sorry. We had a huge accident. Brian Shanahan and Patrick Nguyen came together coming out of turn 6. We're looking at the replay now, and that was kicked off by a mistake by Nguyen actually coming through 6, and you can see him trying to get back on track, pulls out at the wrong time, and absolutely somersaults through the air. And amazingly, his car is still going. We are on Matthew Thill now, and Thill is sitting in 6th position as he re-enters the oval and works his way past, I believe that's Nguyen that he's going on past now.
Yeah, he just went a little bit wide there coming onto the oval section. He lost a little ground. But he's been all over Vergara trying to crack into the top 5.
So Thill having quite a good race after starting in 10th position. Great stuff for him, having gained 4 in what looks like a very competitive field this season. See another car jumping out of the pits, and that is Donnie Leonard, another return from last season, who is currently sitting in 23rd, excuse me.
And Joe, just think about our 2 leaders again. I don't know if we can figure out anything that's going up there, because I get the hunch that Santos and Mota are just kind of driving around. You have no idea if Santos is holding Mota up or if Mota is hanging on thanks to the draft. So it's going to be really interesting to see come pit stop time for them.
And they are going by the pink car of Lance Snyder, who is a lapped car that they are getting by right now. So no threat from him as they come back onto the backstretch. I think you're right. I think there is some teamwork going on as they work on lap 17. 23 minutes left to go, so they are going to need a pit stop eventually here. I believe they've got about a half an hour's worth of fuel if it's anything like last season.
And I've been keeping an eye on Kyle Potts a bit more, and he's managed to get himself all the way back up to 9th place, and he qualified in 8th. So after dropping down to almost last place in the first lap, he's had a really good comeback.
Question is, has he pitted yet? Like we were looking with Wendell Pera, who is coming in with his teammate, it looks like Ricardo Ignacio. Is that Potts you say that was pitting?
Kyle?
Yep.
And right now.
So now we're going to get a real idea of where exactly Potts is, because some cars had pitted, and that was something that could have flattered some of his progress. However, with Ignacio and Pera in the pits right now, we're now switching to John LaBaff, who had a bit of excitement earlier on, but he looks to be heading into the pits as well, as yes, he does, comes into pit lane. But it looks like Ignacio and Para are heading out. Where is Potts? Potts is still in there. Also heading out is Eduardo Tomede. Now, was it Lete that we saw come in earlier? He had some trouble, though.
He spun, so that kind of ruins any benchmark that he put in. So I think if we keep an eye on Ignacio here and Para, that's something probably a good idea of how things are going to cycle out.
And Para actually came in behind Ignacio, so he actually gained a position there, I think. So it's a faster pit stop for him.
Exactly. So it seems like there's a bit of swapping positions, a bit of leapfrog going on with the pit stops, guys figuring out what the strategy is. Our leader is in the pits. Daniel Santos has come on in, but Anderson Mota has not. That's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Figueroa decided to come in as well, so he's a little bit farther back. But I'm interested to see how he'll come out in relation to Ignacio and Para.
Well, Ignacio is now heading into NASCAR 3, so he's got a little bit of a ways to go. So let's see how quickly he will be gaining on him. Santos is actually already out. Santos is out of the pits. He has got a huge gap.
Oh, you got to wonder if he took enough fuel.
We're hearing that there is a 12-second stop for Santos, which is 5 seconds or so faster than most others.
And here
that
comes
is
Mota.
Unusual.
And Mota's coming in now, so I can't imagine that Mota's going to get out ahead of Santos with Santos's lightning pit stop.
Yeah, it's going to have to take a tall order, unless maybe they are teammates and he's sharing that data. I don't know. This will give us possibly a better idea if there's some. Oh, and Santos is spun. That was in turn 8. And unfortunately, I lost connection with him as that happened. I'm not sure. I think we watched the. Can we pull up the replay potentially? So I'm actually going to be seeing this for the first time as well. This could mean that Moda could get out ahead of him, and it looks like
Moda's leaving right now.
it was just cold tires as Moda leaves his pit. So that was a driver error. Where is Santos? Santos is behind him. So without Wyatt Gooden to be able to lead with almost minimal mistakes, and Santos has spun once more coming through turn 2. He is not liking these cold tires. Did he actually take tires? That's another question, though.
He didn't.
He did not. And
He spun again.
Santos spins again and almost flips the car.
That's Wendell Para. That was for position. He did make slight contact there. Oh, we're on replay once again. And we're looking at coming out of our half spin here. Just making that slight bit of contact there. That could have been ghost contact there.
Oh, Moda just spun as well.
Wow, this is unusual, Bill. We are not used to this at all in this series.
So I'm trying to see if he's lost the lead now. He looped it. He probably cost him 10 seconds or so. I'll see if he can, when they cross the line here, if he's
no,
going to be the
because
leader.
Santos is off. Santos had a slight off coming through 8. The leaders are absolutely struggling.
I think it might be Wendell Para.
No, Moda still leads. Remember that Santos had a number of troubles, so Para has picked up second position right now and is trying to run down Moda. If Moda has more mistakes like we saw, this could cause problems. However, we got quite a battle going on behind our leader between Lee McGovern and Bruce Poole, and that is for 24th and 25th position.
Well, you know, Moda and Santos were so nice when they were running together. I think they just got lonely when they got separated. All things went haywire.
So now that things are starting to shake out, Oda leads, Para has second position, Ignacio is in third, Daniel Santos has slipped all the way to fourth, and Matthew Thill has moved himself into the top 5. Incredible stuff from the Thrill.
It looks like Santos is on ice. I've been watching him, and he's just struggling.
Absolutely. Especially after how flawlessly he was driving in the first half of this race, there has to be something in the tires that maybe they cooled down during those pit stops, and he is not used to what they're doing. You can see him squirming around, almost goes off once again. He struggles out of that last corner, and Matthew Thill is going to move into 4th place. The American is absolutely grabbing position after position.
This is what new tires look like. I don't think we're going to see many tire changes.
No. Well, remember, Santos didn't take new tires according to Ayrton. He's making a challenge coming back up on the outside. He wants to try and get that 4th place back as they head for turn 1. Are they going to go side by side? He's slightly ahead. He backs out of it, coming into the braking for 2. Starts to close up, but doesn't make a challenge. So Phil consolidates his 4th position.
I actually think these guys did take tires. I think I was mistaken. So these guys, Moda and Santos, I'm not sure about Para and Ignacio, but the top 2 leaders did take tires.
Just to give you an idea of how close things still are compared to last season, especially, Moda only leads by 2 seconds ahead of Para, so a little mistake will bring them right back into it because Para will grab that draft and start to close in. It's another 4 seconds back to Ricardo Ignacio, and then they've got quite a gap back to Daniel Santos at the moment. Or excuse me, back to Matthew Thill. Santos is sitting behind him. My timing and scoring has not updated. So let's switch to Bruno Rossetto. That is for 9th position. And he is trying to get that from Kyle Potts, who is, in fact, back up to where he qualified in 8th spot after taking his pit stop. So Kyle has done a magnificent recovery drive. However, let me find some wood to knock on after congratulating him there.
And if we want to watch an exciting battle, we can go back to Hiro Kanaya in 28th spot. He's in a dogfight with
We've actually got a really good battle still going between Potts and Rossetto, and Rossetto actually passes him. And I'm sorry, I did not see on screen that we had actually changed cameras to that battle. Oh, and there's that was Marcio Arizon actually, who just got hit. I'm not sure who that was. I think it was Vergara that hit him. We're looking. We're looking at the replay of Arizona coming out of turn 2 there. Just a little bit of a dip into the grass. Half spins coming through 3. Another trouble zone, it seems, and absolutely plowed into by that other car that ran into him there. Not sure who that was, though. That was, in fact, Vigara. I called it right the first time.
And so, just to keep the viewers updated in the lead, Para is now within a second of Moda, and I think he's got a toe on him, so it shouldn't be long till they're.
Well, we've got an even better battle going on between Potts and Rossetto still for this 9th and 8th position. Rossetto takes the inside coming into NASCAR 3 and gets himself back up there, but these guys have been swapping back and forth for a couple laps now, Ayrton.
Yeah, and Rossetto, he actually started in 17th place while Potts started in 8th, so there's quite a big qualifying difference between these guys, almost half a second. So I'm actually surprised Kyle Potts is struggling so much to get past Rossetto. Yeah, he gets a really good run now.
Curb. Yeah, and that's going to slow him down. Potts, opportunistic move up into 3, just almost a slight touch coming through there. Chops him off into forward. Does he? No, he gives him a polite amount of room, but only just. And he's able to get back in front of him. These guys are just absolutely going at it hammer and tongs, as Richard Losper would say, with just back and forth, swapping. Great stuff. Very respectful driving, I have to say.
Yeah, really good pass by Kyle Potts, very clean. So now his next target is try to catch up to Alex Blau, but he's really one of the faster guys, and he's about 3 seconds, actually no, about 6 seconds back. So he'll have quite a lot of work to catch up to him.
Well, one thing I'm really enjoying about these new cars, Ayrton, is just it's really shaken up the order and, you know, qualifying and everything. Guys are really having a lot of great battles out here. We're seeing mistakes, something we didn't see a whole lot of in the BMW. So as we switch to Matt Malone, and he is actually battling with Scott Power, and these guys are coming through NASCAR 4. It looks like Malone might have a run. Will he try up the inside? No, he just lifts off the gas as they come across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and with what you're talking about, even the draft on this track is just, they've got this huge straight, and these guys they really have the opportunity to make passes into that 1-2 section. So that also keeps the battles nice and intense, and no one can really get away from anyone else. Actually, I just looked at Wendell Parra making a half spin.
I was just noticing that too. That was coming out of turn 8. Once again, these slow corners do not like these cars at all. There's a lot of powers in these very heavy machines. We're going to watch a replay of that mistake. Just a driver error. Whew, almost power sliding it through the corner. That was entertaining. Before that, he was less than a second behind behind Anderson Moda was Wendell Parra. This time by the line is about 1.3 seconds. We lost a little bit, but it looks like the draft is going to be able to pull him in if he can minimize those mistakes.
Yeah, I've been watching Parra. He has the pace to catch Moda, and if he can just stop making mistakes, it'll be really interesting here as we get close to the end.
Meanwhile, Daniel Santos up behind Alex Bilbao. This is for 5th and 6th position. Close enough on the front stretch, onto the braking of 2. Not close enough to do anything. These are 2 of the fast Brazilians we were talking about earlier. It'll be entertaining to see these guys try and scrap for this position.
Yeah, and Bilbao, he had quite a bit of instance earlier on. I'm wondering if he might still have a little bit of leftover damage and not gotten it all repaired in the pit stop unless they have fast repairs. But he looks to have quite a lot of pace now, but Santos right on his rear.
There are no fast repairs in this series, so whatever you have gotten, you are stuck with. And Bilbao, I think from what I can see on screen, but we've switched over to Eduardo Tomede. Oh, no, and we're back on Bilbao, excuse me. So coming into turn 8, not able to do anything there. Yeah, looking at the front, I think you're right. I think Bilbao definitely has some scrapes and stuff on that front splitter. Well, as we watch those guys, it sounds like Parra has caught up quite a bit of the time. He is now back to where he was and is definitely within drafting distance of Anderson Moda. The battle for the lead is on with a mere 10 minutes left on the clock.
I've been watching this battle, and this is not the first time he's had to close it. He's gained and made a mistake. He's gained and made a mistake. And
Whoa, big bobble from Moda. And that is going to compromise him on his exit. This gives Para a chance. Goes defensive. Para on the outside, coming up to turn 8. They close into each other side by side. Just a little bit of a touch. Banging wheels into the braking of 8. Who is going to get the better exit coming out of here? In the inside, it's Moda getting a good run, but it's going to be the draft that helps Para pull him in as now they come onto the oval portion. Is he going to try and make a pass around the outside? He's got the momentum. He pulls up to the right side, but as they come into the turn, it looks like he's going to drop back, and now he slots back into line.
Felt like he pulled out too early to me there. If he just stayed tucked a little bit longer, now he's going to go.
Whoa! Almost comes into the back of Moda there, coming out of as Moda stays all the way to the bottom, making sure that he doesn't get an advantage. Breaking into turn 2, they are still Moda in front, followed by Para.
And just to give Blake a clue for how much how hard he's driving to catch up to Moda, the previous lap before they started battling, he ran a 1 minute 12.9, which was actually faster than his qualifying lap. So with the help of the draft as well, but he's running really hard on these old tires to catch up.
And he definitely wants it. And Moda, we haven't seen a whole lot of mistakes from him yet, but we definitely saw one there. And that seems to be the word of the day, is a mistake is going to cost you. A number of guys who could have had great opportunities have let it slip away from them. Will Moda be among them? Right now he's managing to hold off Para in second as they come back to the oval once again. And Para this time is the one that bobbles.
It's getting the power down that's on these guys. It's corner exit.
Everybody getting just a little bit greedy, a little bit anxious as we switch to Alex Bilbao and Daniel Santos still battling for that 6th position. Bilbao going a little bit wide and starts to lose grip coming out of turn 8. This is going to give Santos a bit of a run, plus the draft pulling him in. Coming around NASCAR 3, is he going to try and use that momentum to slingshot around the outside? He's got the speed, but he's going to have to take the long way around. He slows down as that wind pushes back on his car. Now he switches to the inside, uses the momentum, and then backs out of it. So, no go this time for Santos as he stays in 6th. So, switching to 18th position between Anderson and Tomati. Oh, I'm sorry, and Bilbao was off, I believe. Some car went off just ahead of them.
Bilbao went off in turn 2. Gave up. He didn't have any damage. Gave up position to Santos.
So Santos has moved up back into the top 5 after starting in pole position. So that's going to still be a disappointing result after a number of mistakes after his pit stop. And we're watching the replay there of Bilbao making his mistake, allowing Santos through between turns 2 and 3.
And just to keep the viewers in, Para is still following Moda. He's right there, not to striking distance yet.
He has 7 minutes left to go with a minute 12 laps. It's going to tick down pretty quickly. He's going to want to try and figure out his opportunity, scale that up, but they got lap traffic in front of them. That is John LaBaff. Is that going to come into play?
Looks like he's going to catch him in advance.
Yeah, they're going to want to hope that he's got a bit of pace to stay ahead of these guys up until the oval portion of his track where he can simply lift and let them by. And now coming into turn 6, doesn't really hold them up. Is he going to hold them up into 8th, or is he going to let them by?
He's got to go wide here. You got to let the back car.
He's back on the racing line. Is he going to break a little early? No, he's not. And he's going to compromise both of these guys as Para closes up on the back. He stays wide in the corner, making it tight for both of them. But it's going to be worse off for Para as he definitely does not get a good exit. And he is still trying to get past LaBaff as they come onto the oval portion. He might be able to use the draft to start to close in on Moda. Now he's got it. So not too much loss there, but tense moments.
You know, he was far enough back that I think he's going to get a run.
You're right, as he looks to the outside coming up to 1. Moda tries to come back to the line, carries as much speed as he can through 1, braking and closing for turn 2, but they keep out of each other. A lot of curve on the inside for Moda as he gets a little bit loose, but he holds onto it. Now working their way through 3 and then into 4, the slow, twisty portion of the track. Still very close behind for Para. Can he get a good enough launch? He's got a good run, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to try to outbreak him into 6.
Well, looking at this battle, I'm just thinking back to when Santos and Bilbao were battling out.
Whoa, we need to go to Kyle Potts right now. He just had a huge moment with, who is that? Vergara, actually, coming into turn 1.
And he was not happy.
Yeah, that's what alerted me is I heard some interesting language on the radio. Potty's got a little bit of a potty mouth right now after having a bad incident that sent him sliding across turn 2. Meanwhile, back to our leaders, Para has a run on Moda, but backs out of it as they come through NASCAR 3 and 4.
Now, Joe, where's the finish line here? It's right there, so this is going to be interesting.
He's going to have to really figure out the timing of that run, and I wonder if that's what he's doing, kind of figuring out where he can be to try and slingshot it, how far back he has to be. Big bobble from Moda, and actually gets bumped from behind by Para into turn 3. So contact was made. These guys are getting ever closer, and a very nervous-looking Moda with bobbles here and there and all over.
Yeah, see, Moda's been holding him off, taking a defensive line into 1. But the race is going to end before there, so it wouldn't be surprised if Para can get a good run and catch him at the finish line.
Right now on board with Wendell as he tries to run down the leader, Anderson Moda, just in front as they break for turn 8. This is where he's been trying to figure things out, square him up. Just behind them, we can't see, there was a bit of a half spin from LaBaff, but that's not important. Let's stay with this as he starts to pull him in. Now we're on board with Moda, looking back at Para as he closes up. Is he going to try and get by him this time, or is he just holding on? Now he ducks back into the draft. I think he is figuring out exactly where he needs to be to try and slingshot it. Look,
I think so too. And he got him that. He might have got him that lap. No, he didn't, but it was close.
5/1000ths of a second.
Oh!
Para runs right into the car of Justin Allen into turn 2. Absolutely catastrophic results. We're going to watch the replay now. On board. I think he was blind on that one. I'm going to watch to see what exactly he saw there. Oh, could not have known that was coming. 0 time to react. Incredible blow. That is extremely disappointing for Perry. He's actually still going, though. Car acted like a bit of a shovel, it seems, as now we're off board and looking at this. Just sent that car flying. That was Justin Allen, who was rolling over and over. But Anderson Moda now has a big gap because a little bit ways back, it's still Ignacio in third. So Para hasn't even lost second place.
I think Moda saw that a split second before Para did. You can see him slow down and Para just, whoa!
Yeah, when we were watching the onboard, there was just a bit of smoke, and then suddenly there was a car pulling across the track. He had 0 time to react to that. That was just an unfortunate situation. That's I have to say, is the downside to some of this unreliability and slipperiness of these cars. Is a very damaged Wendell Para. You can see that, or I'm sorry, yes, I am looking at Para with the damage on his car. Excuse me, Guillermo Leite that we were looking at. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Para, he really had nowhere to go because he was stuck on the outside line. So he either had to brake and risk giving up the position and possibly losing a lot of time to Moda, or trying to take the risk and taking the outside line.
I don't think he even could have braked, honestly. He would have had to just drive off into the grass as we watch this battle with Leite trying to go side by side into one and comes out ahead.
Para's car looked like it's through the dryer. I mean, through the tumbler, but he's holding on to second place.
Well, meanwhile, behind them, between Leite and Clint Myers that we're watching, Myers sitting in 11th, Leite in the top 10. Now, where did he qualify? He qualified 7th. Remember, he had some problems in Clint Myers spins, but keeps it together just barely, coming through 6th. Now, I'm curious, and I'm actually not sure if because I don't know, but I think our director probably does. Do these cars have traction control now? There is none, actually, if we are being informed. So that might explain some of the troubles out here. Just remember, the Z4s had traction control, although just a little bit last season. And there's actually no anti-lock brake system on these cars, so this is all down to driver skill this season. So we've got 40 seconds left on the clock. I think this could be the last lap for Moda. It might be a little bit close.
Para is hoping it's the last lap because Ignacio is wheeling him in.
Oh, that damage seems to be hurting him. It's about 3 seconds. What's the difference in their lap times? I'm curious.
About a second and a half.
So, it'd be really tight. He'd have to use the draft to really pull him in. Meanwhile, I believe we are going to be on white flag lap here. We got 10 seconds left. Moda is coming around. We still have a green flag. Is it going to turn white very suddenly on us? Now we've got a white flag. And it looks like this is the final lap. So, one more lap to go for Anderson Moda to try and win this thing. First round of season 11 in the VSRA American Road Tour. There's a 10-second gap between himself and Wendell Para. And Para does, in fact, have Ignacio closing in on him. Ignacio is going to have the draft, and with his car being severely injured, Wendell is probably going to be have to defending very hard to hold on to that second position.
Yeah, he just really has to hope that he can maybe get a good draft from the guy from the lap car in front of him, John LaBoff, but he's going to get on the oval section of the portion. That damage is going to cause a lot of straight line speed loss.
Very much so, as we watch him try to stay behind John LaBoff, actually, as they come through 8. So he is going to get a bit of a tow, but look, right behind him is Ignacio still. We're going to try and keep an eye on Moda. He is actually coming up to the line now. He's coming through NASCAR 4, so Moda is going to take the win. Anderson Moda, as he comes to the line, staying low now, wins the first round of the VSRA American Road Tour. Wendell Para, he is side by side with Ignacio. He doesn't have the momentum. Ignacio passes him. Ricardo Ignacio is going to take second, with Wendell Para rounding out the podium. And there was a scant 0.2 of a second separating them at the line.
Dylan Santos is going to round out the top 5. And that's a nice finish for Daniel Santos after spinning half a dozen times.
Bilal manages to come home 6th after a few mistakes of his own. Potts' recovery drive takes him back to where he started, finishing in 8th. I'm trying to see if there's any other battles going on down the line that we should watch before this ends. We've only got about 16 cars on the lead lap. Matt Malone does have, nope, that's a lapped car behind him. So it looks like actually Joseph Anderson and Eduardo Tomede have swapped positions somewhere along the line. So those guys are going to finish in a slightly different position. Last car in the lead lap I'm seeing is John Kelly, in fact, as cars finish up. Guillermo Leite did finish in the top 10, so that was a decent run for him to try and make up positions after having some very early problems himself. And we're watching John Kelly work his way towards the finish line now, coming onto the oval portion to finish this for everybody, as he is the last car in the lead lap. And Joseph Anderson has actually already finished, so positions are solidified with John Kelly finishing 16th. We are going to go to break here. We're going to come back with the unofficial results and hopefully some interviews. Stick around. It's been a great and exciting and very mistake-filled race 1 here with the VSRA. Don't go away. Welcome back to Homestead-Miami, where we just witnessed the first round in the DIYSim.com American Road Tour. Season 11 for VSRA, and boy, was it an incredible start. Just cars all over the place, just about, lots of spinning. But in the end, the one who was able to come away with the fewest mistakes was Anderson Mota. Ricardo Inacio finished second, pipping Wendell Parra at the line after an unfortunate accident sent him back. Then Matthew Thill with an incredible drive from 10th to 4th. Daniel Santos came home 5th after starting on pole. Disappointing finish for him. Bruno Rossetto in 6th. Alex Balau in 7th. Kyle Potts had a great recovery drive with some action along the way into 8th. Scott Power in 9th, exactly where he started. And Guillermo Lete, unfortunately, going from 7th to 10th.
Then in 11th was Clint Myers, Lance Snyder in 12th, Matt Malone in 13th, Eduardo Tomiti in 14th, Joseph Anderson in 15th, John Kelly in 16th, Donnie Leonard in 17th, John LaBaff in 18th, Bruce Poole in 19th, and Lee McGovern in 20th.
Starting the back half of the field, Christopher Thompson in 21st, followed by Marcio Arizon, Michael Goraski in 23rd, Hiro Kanaya in 24th. I predicted a top 20, fell a little bit short, but a nice run from Hiro. Romer Alice. Boy, I have the hard ones back here. Alcala in 25th. All right, I got him, director. Here we go. George Fike in 26th. Didn't hear much from him. Patrick DeWin. Justin Allen, the 4th in 28th. Mark Robertson in 29th. I'm going to wrap up the back here with Jose Vergara and Brian Shanahan in 30th. And in 32nd position, as pointed out by Joseph Peak, there were 32, and it's Jonathan Scalaro. Back to you, Joe.
My powers of counting have improved over the years. However, we do have our second place finisher here to talk to us. Ricardo, you started in 4th, managed to finish in 2nd. I know a lot of other guys were struggling out there with traction. Was it difficult in this car, especially in the slow corners?
Hi guys, I really happy for this place. Congratulations for our team, and I really sorry because I don't speak English. Our team is Brazilian and Spanish, and we don't speak English, but we really happy. Uh, it's just it. Thank you all.
Well done, a fantastic drive, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And we have to give credit to guys like Ricardo for coming on and speaking their non-native tongue here on these interviews. Very impressive, because I know the few languages that I know, I would not be able to hold much of a conversation here. We do actually have our winner here, and that is Anderson Mota. And Bill, would you like to talk to Anderson?
Anderson, congratulations. Very good race. Did you see the car in front of you when Parra and you, the car that was spinning that Parra hit? Did you see it?
Good night. My English is not very good, so if I say something wrong, please don't laugh.
No, that's fine.
Thank you. So thanks. I saw the smoke, and I tried to brake earlier to avoid the contact, and when I saw Wendell crashing here, I said, okay, now I win. But I saw his feet.
I think Mota was measuring you. I think he was timing it for the end, laying back on you. It would have been very close at the finish.
Yes, I decided to change only my front tires, and all the team decided to. And very bad decision. The car was very oversteer, almost impossible to control it. And I spun two times, and it was very complicated. Would be a very close end. For luck, this race I won not luck, by luck, but never more will make this bad strategy, I hope.
Well, congratulations to you and to all your Brazilian countrymates. Brazil really put on a show, and we'll see you next race.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, podcasting. See you next Sunday. Goodbye.
Well, that changes everything. So, hearing that they only changed the front tires, it explains a lot. We do have Wendell Para, and I believe Ayrton is going to ask him some questions.
Thanks, Joe. Para, you probably have the worst luck I've ever seen. What are your reactions after the wreck?
Good night. Thank you, waiting. I don't see the car crash. No, my English is terrível. Vou speak em português. Boa noite, pessoal. Não teve como desviar aí do carro bem na hora que eu ia ultrapassar. E estou muito feliz de ter corrido aqui. Achei muito legal. Queria agradecer a equipe, a RC Competições, aos meus companheiros de equipe, Ricardo Inácio e o resto da galera. E estou feliz por ter corrido aqui. Achei muito legal. Uma boa corrida. Obrigado. Thank you.
Well, I was glad to have you in the interview room, and third place finish. Still pretty good result, and we hope to see you maybe get back into that top spot on the podium in future races.
Joe, I understand. I can't speak Portuguese. I understand it. What he was saying was that after he crashed, his car was damaged, and he hoped to limp it home in second, but he was caught and ended up finishing third, and he'll be here next week. Back to you, Joe.
I thought he was talking something about high heels out there, actually. But we do have one more interview, and that is the guy who made the almost traditional charge back that we see in this series, and that is Kyle Potts. Kyle, that first lap spin really set you back. You were in 31st, and you overtook a boatload of cars out there.
Yeah, during the formation lap there, the guy in front of me was blinking in and out pretty bad, and we went into that corner, and he was on the inside, and then he disappeared, and then he was right on the outside when he came back. So my only option was to get out of the way and not cause a collision. But that same guy there towards the end of the race about took me out of the race again. I don't know what was going on there. I don't think he saw me, but I was hoping to get up there into what was it, like 5th or 6th or something. That would have been nice. But that was fun. I'll tell you what, that was pretty fun, man.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seemed like that was the story of your race because of that second incident as well. It seems like a lot of guys are really struggling out there on this car. What kind of changes do you feel like this is bringing to the championship this season?
I think it's going to bring a lot of uncertainty, really. Saw a lot of fast guys out there looping it a few times, so it's nice to know that, if you mess up, you can put your head down and you get down to it, you can catch back up and make some good positions back. But I think it adds some good excitement. The tire model is definitely different. It's man, I can't figure it out. I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be good for the championship for sure.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Potty, and hopefully you won't have to have such a difficult race next time around.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'd like to shout out to DIY Sim, man. Without this, it wouldn't be possible, man.
Great stuff. Well, we are going to close up today and thank a few people just like Kyle just did. Obviously, thanks to DIYSim.com for sponsoring this series and all they do towards the prizes in this. Also, thanks to VSRA for organizing this league. Thanks to the software and hardware that we use, iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Also, thanks to the team today, Ayrton, Bill, and Kevin. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Doug Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel. And a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and even on Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. The next race in this series is going to be at Sebring. That'll be even more interesting with all those bumps with this car. That's Sunday, August 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Our next broadcast coming up, we don't have another one until Wednesday. That'll be the ASRS at Michigan, August 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then, of course, the iSuperspeedway series comes back with Talladega, Friday, August 8th at 10 p.m. Eastern. And of course, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series returns with Mosport Saturday, August 9th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. That's a week from now. Don't miss that one. That series has some great racing. Northwest Majors comes back at Bristol Sunday, August 17th at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. And of course, don't forget the Blondie Series returns with Circuit of the Americas Saturday, September 6th at 6 p.m. UTC for round one in that series. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.